Hi, it's Christine. In this video, we're going to talk about how to budget your life when your income fluctuates. Hey, it's Christy. Thank you so much for being with me for another video. Let's talk about fluctuating income. Maybe you have a couple of different gigs. You don't necessarily have a wage earner job where you go and clock in, clock out, and no matter what you produce or do, you get paid the same. So there are lots of people in this category, and I know I am one of them. When I tell people that I'm 100% commission, sometimes they gasp like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And I thought I could never go back to being a wage earner, right? So if this is you, where you are responsible for hustling to make your income happen, then listen in. You also know, if this is you, that you've gone weeks, if not sometimes months, with a dry season, right? So how do we get through those times where your income fluctuates? Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not even present at all. So let's get right in. First and foremost, I think if you're going to take on this kind of an endeavor, you need to have at least 3 months, ideally 6 months worth of income, take-home income in a savings account in which to have a little bit of a safety net. This is not your emergency fund. This is to pay your bills just in case you don't have any money coming in. First off, you're going to sleep better knowing that that's there. Second, you're not going to freak out if you do have to go a couple of weeks without a paycheck, because let's just face it, sometimes that happens. I've gone a whole month without getting paid before, and angst sits in and you start getting really unsettled and feel a lot of unrest. And so if you have several months worth of income sitting in a savings account, it'll just feel a little bit easier. If that's not possible, let's move on. So I want you to create a budget based off of the bare minimum, as skinny as you can make it go. So obviously this is going to be your housing, your car, your insurance, your food, your utilities, your cell phone bill, those kinds of things. So perhaps when things are a little bit slow, you're not walking into the mall, you're not walking into stores where you find this really great deal and you've got to spend some money on it. You are not putting extras on your credit card because there's no guarantee you're going to have that money there to pay it off. I'm talking bare to the bones minimum. And I'm going to pause here and also say a lot of people have no idea how much should be going to their car based on their income, how much should be going to their housing. In your case, I'm going to say go off of your lowest income that you have generated in the last 12 months with your hustles or your gigs that you're currently working, and use that as your threshold. Use that as, this is how much I have to make, how much I have to earn in order to get by in this life. Now, let's say you get you have a little bit of savings, you get a tax refund, something along those lines where you've got some money to work with. I am going to encourage you to have some things paid in advance. I do not mean just having it sitting there in a savings account. I'm saying legit pay it in advance. If you have a car payment, pay a month ahead. From my very first car payment, my mom had told me, if you're always a month ahead, even if you accidentally miss a car payment or you're not able to make it, you're already ahead of the game. You're not going to struggle with any late payment showing up on your credit that could destroy a credit score. You're not going to be paying late fees that is just extra expenses in your life. So always try to be early, if not a month ahead on some of those things. For instance, my utility company for my water bill makes it so difficult to pay my little $30 monthly bill. And then they charge me like a $3.50 convenience fee when I pay it online with my debit card. So what I do is I typically pay 3 months in advance. So I'll throw $100 at it and then they'll just deduct that out of that credit balance. So I know I'm always in advance. I'll set an alarm in my phone for in 3 months and remind myself to do it all over again. I don't have to pay that $3.50 convenience fee. And I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes at me right now like it's only $3.50. It all adds up. So I would rather just be paid in advance. It's there and all is well in the world. So be in advance on those things that you can be, and takes the pressure off, because now you don't really have a car payment due on the 19th. Now, if you make money and you can make your car payment on the 19th, pay that car payment on the 19th. You get what I'm saying? So create a budget on just your bare minimum to get by. Also, if you're starting up in a career and you're just getting your client base started, you're just getting your name or your brand known, I would encourage you to really come down on some of those external things that you have control over. For instance, you don't need a $200 cable bill. You don't need a $100 cell phone bill. I personally have a prepaid plan with Verizon, and I think it's either $35 or $40 a month that they auto draft out of my account. It's got everything. I'm not lacking anything, and it's just because it's on a prepaid plan, it's cheaper. And so you can seek out some of those things without having to let go of any quality. I mean, Verizon, I think they're one of the top, right? So you can still have top quality stuff. You can just skim it down a little bit. So if you really enjoy cable, maybe just have a lower level package where you still have some of your favorite channels, but you're not paying a couple $100s a month. You get what I'm saying? And it's only temporary. When you go through your ebbs and flows, so when things are good, put it aside. You're going to need it. Don't go spend it all on those things that you want but don't need. You really want to get to the point where you've got 6 months worth of savings to live off of should something happen. Because let's face it, you're the reason you get paid. And if something happens to you, if you got in a car accident, if you got ill, if you had to become a caretaker for somebody and now all of a sudden you weren't able to work for your money, how are you going to pay your bills, right? So having that set aside is there for much more than even just that security net and feeling better. It's there for a lot of different reasons. So as you have ebbs, right? You've got this big amount that comes in one month and you're like, oh, look, I'm going to be rich. Hey, don't presume that that's going to be every month moving forward. For at least that first 12 months of getting established and getting into the swing and in a rhythm with your gigs and your side hustle, your income, the way that you're earning it, I would encourage you to live on that lower level status where I would encourage you to live on that lower amount that you know this is what you need as your minimum amount to live off of. And then once you do have several months worth of savings set aside, then you can start splurging a little bit and spending a little bit on yourself, your business, all those things that you want to do with that extra money. Let's face it, you're working really hard for it. You're the one that's hustling. And so you want to go and spend it on those things that you want. And I want that for you too. We just have to wait until you get to a certain point. And here's a word to the wise. Don't make the same mistake I made. Don't get comfortable with those months that it's really coming in, okay? I make more during the summer than any other time of the year, so it would really be going against me if in December I was spending money the same way that I was presuming the money was coming in during the summer. So you get it. Just don't get comfortable, because sometimes when we get comfortable, not only are we spending more money than we probably should and live in large, but secondly, sometimes we tend to get out of those actions that helped us get that money in. So if you were spending a lot of time marketing, if you were spending a lot of time developing relationships, if you were spending a lot of time making asks to get in front of people so that you can, build up your business and make more income, don't get comfortable with not doing those things, because all of a sudden your pipeline is going to dry up and you're not going to have that money coming in. So don't get comfortable. Don't make that mistake. I've done that before. And then lastly, be so good that people will wait for you. So if you're side hustling and you're trying to get out of being a wage earner and actually start your own thing, or if you've got a couple of gigs, that pay here and pay there, but you really want to make that your income source, be so good that they will wait for you, that they'll stand in line, they'll wait for you. So if you say, I am booked 2 weeks out, but I can book you for in 2 weeks and a day, and they say, okay, go ahead and book it. Don't spend it yet. You haven't earned it yet, but go ahead and book that and keep that pipeline full, right? And the goal is to just keep building from here and from here and from here and from here. So if you are wondering how much of your income should go towards your housing and how much should go towards your car payment, because we're not really taught some real nice general rules of thumb, I will connect a video here that goes over some of those things just so you can kind of have an idea. I'm a little bit on the conservative side, so I'm just going to put out that disclaimer, but I hope that this brings you value. I know that this is how I have to live on a pretty regular basis, but Here's the good news. When you're the one that's responsible for your income, in other words, the harder you work and the more you hustle, the more income you make, as opposed to you go in, you clock out, and no matter how hard or not hard you work, you get paid the same thing. It's different, right? Like if you're experiencing that for yourself and you love that, I want that for you if you love that too. So allow that fear that might be present for not having a guaranteed income, have that push you forward and keep catapulting you towards your goals and your dreams. Don't stop hustling though. Don't get comfortable. And don't be afraid to look for things where you can cut some expenses. Again, cable, cell phone bill, even where you grocery shop can make a big difference on your spending too. So hope this brings you value. Thanks so much for being with me today. And until next time, stay well.